Hey guys, welcome to another video of Power Automate. So in previous of our videos, we have seen how can we work with list, how can we add items to the list. In today's video, we'll see how can we use files and folders in Power Automate, how can we create folder or rename and copy files, and how can we use the binary data using the Power Automate. So let's get started. So first is I have created this flow working with files, and I also have this folder with me. Let me just delete these logs folder. I also have a order file. It is a blank file. We'll see how can we work with this file. First, let us check this. So this is pretty simple. If folder exists, so basically this is to check whether the folder exists or not. This gives us the output as true or false. Okay, so working with files folder, and if I hit logs, so it will give me false, right? So if I say does not exist, then it will give me a true. Okay, if I save and run it, okay, so pretty simple that it gives me this pop-up that folder does not exist. So it is pretty simple that need to check if this is basically an if-else condition. Now there are some, other parameters in this. Let's take create folder. So if the folder does not exist, so this will gives us create folder into. So we have to give the root path and then we give our folder name here. If we want to create more folder inside it, we can give it like this, right? So it will create a folder and it will give us the variable here. But let's not use it like this, because most of the time we have the whole path. We do not have the path like this, but we have the whole path. So if this does not exist, let's use a toss functionality. Okay, so if I go here, so this DOS command will create the folders recursively and make directory is the command. And why we are closing it double quotes is because there is a space here. So if I click OK and if I run it now, then it will create the logs folder inside this working with logs, right? If here I run it, and if you see, just going back, okay, there is some error. Okay, this is not MR, it is MK. Now let's run it. So now if you see, the folder is created, right? If we want to create more, then we can give like this logs, and so it will create all these. If folder does not exist, it will create the folders inside these directories. So this is how we can use DOS command to create folders. Okay, and delete folder is basically to delete the folder from the root, right? From the, so if I give the input as till here logs, it will delete the folder. It will delete the logs folder. Empty folder is basically it will clear all the files and subfolders inside that folder. Copy folder basically copies the folder from one place to another, or move it to one folder to another folder. This we use if we want to rename a folder. We give the whole path and we give the new folder name. Okay, and get a special folder is basically what a special path we have, like desktop, music folder, pictures folder, documents folder. So all these are the special paths. So if I choose document, this is my path, right? Okay, now coming on to file, similar to this folder exist, we have a file exist action in here. So if I just delete this and use this one, and if I say that okay, dot logs and log dot txt exist or not, right? So obviously this file does not exist, but so wait for file is basically this is a trigger function, right? So this function will wait till this file is created. So this is a trigger function, and we use this function will wait till this logs file is created, right? So let's see how this works. Let me just does not exist, and if I run it, so see the status is currently running and it is waiting for log file to get created. Now as soon as I create a log file here, the txt log file logs, see it came out. So this is how the wait for file works. Where we mostly use it is we use it mostly in the to trigger a bot to trigger another desktop flow based on the file created. Basically it is used to communicate between two machines or two bots. So this is where we use this trigger functionality. Okay. Okay, now copy file is basically when we want to copy one file to another file, but this is also being used to copy multiple files. Now how can we, so if you want to copy only one file, right? So what you can give is, let's create a folder here, copied files. Okay, let's say I want to move this logs file to the copied files. Okay, so pretty simple. I will give the destination folder here and the file path here. Right, so this is how we can copy single file, but how can we copy multiple files? Right, so for multiple files the input taken is in the form of list. Okay, so if I go here and I have multiple files, let's create some multiple files here. Okay, let's create 4 5 files, text files. I have just made a copy of these files, and if I want to copy these all files into copied files folder, how can I do that? Is simple. I have to get all those txt files into a list. Okay, and in order to do that we have a function called get files from folder. So what the output of this is list kind of variable. So copy this and paste it here, and this is basically wildcard. It will copy, it will get all the files, but if I want only the txt files I can use just dot txt. Okay. Okay, so this we have seen in our earlier videos. So if I run it from here, let's see how many files and what is the output of this get files in folder. So if you see, this is list of files, so we have the list, right? And in copy files we can just give the file. Now let's run it and let's see the copy action is done, and if I go into copied, see all these files are copied. Similarly the move function will also work similar to this, right? And delete will also work. If I go here, if I want to delete multiple you know files, then what I can give is simply files, right? And if I run it from here, see all the files from the log folders are deleted. Okay, so this is how delete works. So basically it takes input as a list also. Right, now rename file. This is basically a more advanced, or you can say there are some new functions in the rename files. If you want to set a whole new name for a file, then you can give the whole path of the file here and the new name. Okay, you can also give you have to give the new name with the full path. Okay, now if you want to add text only, so if I want, let's say I want to, so this is my file, I want to add text. before or after. Let's say I want to add one, then I can give full path here, and I can give okay add one like this. Then it will be renamed as one log copy two, like this. Okay, and if I want to remove some text from my file name, if I want to replace the text with some files, right? If let's say let's take this one, right? Text to replace. Let's say I want to replace log with notepad. Okay, and let's take the folder files folder here, and are all files are in copy files. Okay, so let's get all the files from copy files, and then let's just rename it. File to rename not found, so there is some error. Okay, so there are no more files in any of our folder. Let's create some files first. We have ran delete. Yeah, we ran delete function. Let's disable this, and let's create a okay. So I have created some file. Let's see if it renames or not. Okay, this time it is successful. If you see, the logs is being replaced by the notepad. Okay, now if I there is one more functionality in the rename where you can just make a sequential renaming, right? So for each file it will you know create a loop like this. So currently I have this multiple files, and it will just append 1 2 3 like this in the name before the name of the files. So now if you see it has given 1 2 3 4 5. So this is how we can rename files sequentially in Power Automate. Okay, so read text from file and write text from file we have seen in our previous videos. How can we you know use them? How can we create a text file? How can we read text from a file? CSV, I'll be covering the CSV in more broader way in our next upcoming videos, right? So next is get file part path. Basically this, so when we give a path, the path of a file, so it gives us the root path, like which directory it is, the file name, the extension, the file extension. So it gives all these things in a file name. So if I give this, let's see what this will give us. Okay, so it gives us the name with no extension. This is the extension, this is the directory, and this is the root directory. So these are some outputs which it gives us, and this is all a list or directory kind of variable, folder kind of variable. So this is how the this works. So also get temporary file is basically when we have the temp files, it gives us the temporary file object. Okay, base file to 64 will be covering this one in the details. For now, let's see what is a binary data. How can we utilize this action? So binary files is basically when we convert some data into the binary format, that file is being stored into Power Automate memory in the binary format, in 01 format. So I have a file. I've created this simple file. Okay, so it has only these headers, right? So let me copy this. So when I run this one, the file will be stored in the binary format, in a binary kind of variable, right? So if you see, it is being stored into bytes 9378. These are the bytes. It is stored in 0101 format. And when I write this file, I can write this file anywhere, and I do not need to copy it, or I do not need to move it, right? So if I want to copy it here, right? So if I say order dot xlsx, if I go in my logs folder, see, it has created a file with the same format. So where do we use binary data is basically when we are working with multi-bot architecture, right? And we have 3 4 bots working on the same file, right? So what we usually do is we store the file into binary data, and then each bot have a separate file. None of the bot is working on the root file, so each bot have their different file, and each bot can update the data into binary file. So each file has the same format, but they will store different data into the in the form of binary data. So this is where we use binary files, and this is how we can use binary files in Power Automate. In some softwares, I have seen that, like, we are getting the file into binary data. I have seen in some softwares we have the binary data type where we can store it. We do not have to call this function every time, but it will be stored as a permanent value into the data. So in that kind of solutions, we do not have to call this function every time, right? And we do not have to worry about the file also, if file is present or not, because it will always be into the memory of the software. But in here we can um, uh, get the file at runtime, but in some software we can store them into a variable, just like we store some value in text or string. We can store binary data also. So binary data can be used in the multi-bot architecture. Sometimes we use it. So this is all about the files and folders in Power Automate. Let me know in the comment section below what actions I should add in our next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Happy automation.